Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
everybody. Happy New
Hola.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome to another fine edition of Paranormal Show and Tell with myself, Donny Cho, and Brandi and Randy and Tex. We're all live right now. So, hey, everyone in the chat. And yeah, what's up, guys? What's going on?
Go
ahead,
we don't want
Tex.
to talk
Say
about
it. Say it, Tex. Say it.
What am I supposed
He's
to
not
say?
listening. Happy freaking New Year.
Oh, that. You threw me because it's not Monday.
True.
Anytime I'm on a show with you, that's what it is.
Yes, ma'am. I'll remember that.
Well, he needs to just go ahead and echo Frosty is what he needs to do is go, happy birthday.
Right.
I did that to myself yesterday. I totally. I was just kind of humming along and singing, because I do that weird stuff. And I was going to sing Happy New Year, and for some reason, Happy Birthday came out.
Yeah.
That's
Something
funny
about
actually.
it. You're right.
Well, how did
Well,
everybody's New Year's Eve go? How many slept it in?
I have slept a lot.
Well, that's because you were awake when it came in. So
Right.
Well, that's true. I finally got to bed about 4 or 5 o'clock this morning.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Sinfully. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
yep, definitely.
I had to work today, so I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning as usual. So
Boo, hiss.
I know it was just terrible. It was terrible. And what scared me the most is there were more people on the road this morning when I was on it than I ever see all year long. And that scares me. That scared me. I was like, oh my gosh, please. I took every back road I could find to get to work. I was like, nope.
Yep. Today we're talking about feral people. Brandi this morning saw feral drivers.
Yeah.
There
were feral cars on the road.
Oh man, I tell you what. I do want to start off by saying that everybody in New Orleans today, we're thinking about you. We're praying for you. We are simply devastated with everything that had happened last night. Gosh, our prayers are with you. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yeah, that was not a good thing to wake up to.
Yeah.
No, it was not. Sure wasn't. It's just a terrible thing. And it's like you kind of have to think to yourself, what are people feeling? What is their mental status, which would push them to the brink of, going out and doing something like that. So I just don't know. I haven't watched anything on it this evening to know if there's been any more fatalities because of this or anything. But oh my gosh, that was just crazy.
Yeah.
They're saying 15.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. See, there was 10 this morning.
Yeah, 10 this morning. I knew it went up to 14. I didn't know if they'd gotten to a 15 yet or not. So
yeah, that's just crazy. But
either way, either way, it's just messed up. Period.
Right. And the news reports were already coming in this morning when I was up, and I was like, I think that's what scared me the most on the road. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Shamsuddin Jabbar that did it.
Yeah, and he's from Texas. And but he was also ex-service member too.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know all the specs on it yet, and I don't really want to know because I don't even want to speak the man's name because I don't want to give him any shine at all.
Right.
But this wasn't for fame like, the school shootings and stuff like that. This wasn't for notoriety. This dude was straight out planning full-blown terrorist actions.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
he had an ISIS flag on his truck.
And he had explosives in the vehicle with him. From what I read, there was an ice chest that had several different explosive devices in it. So
Wow.
So
That's just crazy stuff.
I'm glad the cops got him. I mean, sorry for the 15, but I'm glad the cops got him before it got worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shake
Anyway,
the
got to
sadness.
shake that off. Yeah, shake that off. Ooh,
Yeah, so
okay.
from one extremely dark topic onto another extremely dark topic.
Right?
Bluey's cone of shame.
So, okay, so I guess we I'll introduce the topic because it was my idea for today's topic.
Yep.
Because one of the things I realized that in a lot of these conversations about cryptids, especially going out in the woods, people will often say that, yeah, while Bigfoot and Dogman are very scary, everyone can pretty much agree that the scariest thing you could potentially ever run into in the woods is people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my first scare. Yeah, absolutely.
And what scarier person is there out there in the woods than the story of feral people? Right? Because feral people, right, it speaks to our base fears about the levels of depravity and just bestial nature that humanity can sink to. The fact that they have the wherewithal and the cunning to survive in those woods for so long, for generations, and that there might be packs of them actively preying on people, seeking them out. And yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today, because they're not, I mean, they're people, right? They're human beings, but in a sense, they're also cryptids, right? Because they're just like Bigfoot and Dogman. You know, we hear about them, we hear legends and rumors and eyewitness accounts. You know, some people are skeptical about them, but yeah, that leads to the idea that a human being a cryptid, and probably the scariest cryptids out there, right? Because they're the most similar to us.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about it that way, but
so yeah. So we had a week break, right? We were off last week. So, you know, we all kind of went in our own different directions. I will can I bring up I don't know, which order did we want to do this in? Because I found, well, I wanted to talk about the most famous example of feral people that is documented.
Go ahead.
Okay.
That's the biggest one I found too.
Sawney Bean. We're familiar with this one?
Yeah. That's one of the first ones I found out about.
Right. Yeah. This is I don't know if people in the chat are familiar. Okay. So Sawney Bean was basically he was a cannibal living in Scotland between, he was a cannibal. What was that, by the way?
I don't know. You put that one up there.
What is that?
Oh, there's another guy that they found in India, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That he only lived like to be 12 or 13 years, according to what the thing said.
Yeah.
I'm like, that don't look like a 13-year-old to me.
No, it does not.
So Sawney Bean was a cannibal living in Scotland, in the coastal area of Scotland. And he was this was between the 1500s and the 1600s. They don't have an exact account of exactly when, because a lot of this is legend and hearsay. But as the legend goes, Sawney Bean was the son of a ditch digger who decided that the hard labor life was not suited for him. So he decided to just live out in the wilderness, live feral. He met a woman who was known locally as Black Agnes. She was known as a particularly vicious woman who was rumored to have also dabbled in witchcraft.
Yeah.
Because every vilified woman is a witch back then, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That was a given. If they
were
outside of any norm of that time, they were a witch.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So they couple up. They go into a cave. They hide out in a cave. They live there. They proceed to have 6 daughters and 8 sons. Ooh. And between the 6 daughters and 8 sons, they had like 14 to 18 grandkids, all incestuous.
Yeah.
And they all lived in this cave together. It was a coastal cave, and it was a lot to do with the cave itself. But as a family unit, they would stay in the cave during the day. Nobody would know where they were or who they were. And at night, they would go out. They would rob people, and then they would catch them, drag them back to their caves, and consume them. And by the time they were caught, it was believed that they had consumed up to 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a clan of like 45, so that's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah. By the time they got to that point, yeah. I mean,
I wonder why that they did that with people. Was it because people were easier prey? I mean, versus going out there and possibly getting a deer or, something else that lived there, some other food source.
It was probably that I don't know, because I don't know what it's like over there in that part of Scotland.
And at that time too, you're talking about people were walking everywhere if they weren't on a horse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So it would have been easier just to ambush, especially if somebody was going by themselves. You got that amount of manpower, you're going to overtake them with no problem.
Right. Well, and then you've got the father who was a cannibal anyway.
Yeah.
And right. And he set the precedent for how the family acted and maneuvered and lived.
Yeah. So those kids knew no different.
Right. They didn't know.
Yeah, it's a whole.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what that family is, what the movie Hills Have Eyes are based on. So there you go.
I'm downloading a map right now. Hold on. I just wanted to show where exactly the cave was located. So there was one of the reasons why the family was able to get away with what they were doing for so long. This wasn't like a typical cave where it was just like somewhere out in the wilderness. Okay, they were at Bene Head. Do you see that little red dot down there?
Yes.
Okay. So I managed to find an actual picture of the actual cave.
Oh, wow.
So that's what it is, right? It faces the ocean, and in high tide, like the entranceway is blocked off by water, so there's no access at all. You can only get in and out during low tide, and it's on like that side of a cliff that's facing out into the ocean. People didn't even know there was a cave there at all.
Wow.
That's why they were able to stay hidden. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming, over the years with erosion and stuff, they didn't have like flooding or anything. Otherwise, they wouldn't have lived there, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still, that whole concept of, even being in what you consider a civilized country, even at that time, I mean, and I imagine there was a lot of the powers that be at the time that literally just, hey, don't go in that part of the forest. We're telling you right now, don't go through that part of the woods. And people didn't listen at times, I don't imagine.
Right.
Right.
And they were finding like body parts washing up. People would assume that they were done by animals. The story of how they were eventually caught was that there was this married couple, and who were on horseback, who were riding through that part of the country, and they were attacked by the Bean clan. And apparently the husband, he was an experienced soldier. He was armed, and he was an experienced fighter. He was able to fight them off, but they managed to take his wife and drag her back to do God knows what. But because he was able to survive the attack and get away, he alerted the people. They eventually found the cave. And now there's two versions of the story of how it ended. One version is that they actually captured all the people, executed them horribly. Like the details are, I mean, it's 1600s,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know what they did to people back then. And that's one version of the story. The other version of the story is they actually collapsed the cave and trapped them all inside. But again, it's all legend, hearsay.
Well, you would have thought. I mean, just your thoughts about it. I mean, you said he was a experienced military man. I won't say soldier per se, but I guess he was at one point or another. So he was able to fend them off. And I imagine when he went back, he got actual, soldiers or military guys coming in with him, and they wouldn't have held a candle against them, especially if they came in force.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They could do the guerrilla warfare and take probably, 10, 20 out if they got them all together.
Right.
But, I mean, you're talking about actual trained fighters versus the ferals in the woods,
Yeah.
It wouldn't bode well for them.
So why is my dog so
get them, sick them, sick them, get them.
Hold on, let me check on the boy. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think he's going after the Korean.
He's going after the Korean. That Korean barbecue over there.
So supposedly this is a picture of this guy or whoever we're.
Oh, Bean.
Yeah. Let me find it again. Yeah, here it is.
That one?
Yeah, supposedly.
That wasn't the one I saw. I mean, of course, I didn't see any real pictures because, we're talking about 1,500 to 1,600. There's nowhere there's a picture of him. So
yeah, but supposedly this is a picture of somebody in Scotland that was also the feral.
Okay. Now, what the heck?
What?
My cat has decided I need to be loved on.
Oh, no, we got a cat in the picture down there.
Yeah, and he bit my arm. I'm literally holding him, and he just reaches down and bites my arm.
Oh, put that picture down, Tex. We want to see this.
Oh, no, he can sit there now. He just reached down and gave me a love bite on my arm for some reason. I don't know. I want to punch this cat sometimes. Now he gets down. He knew you wanted to see him, so he got down.
Right.
I'm telling you, they understand what we're saying, and they're trying to take over the world.
And probably.
That sucker right there is too dumb to do that. Okay. I've seen him run headfirst into a wall without even thinking about it. So.
And then they'll look at you like you did it.
Yeah, exactly. Or get behind the door and try to come out at me and get stuck underneath the door. I'm like,
right.
Are you? No, dummy.
just no.
But
Well,
he is.
Something that's taken Donny a minute.
Well, yeah. And this cat, he does not like closed doors. Barks. No, he never does. That's why, you need to check it out. But this cat goes through the house at night and opens doors. I thought I had a ghost for a while. Then I realized, no, the cat's going through and opening doors on me. Because if he ain't in here with me, he will open the door to my little haven here and come in, whether I like it or whether I don't.
It was like, I have to say this. It was like the other night, and it was super late, and I'm in my bedroom, and I have the door closed, and next thing you know, I hear like a rumbling noise or something coming from, the living room and into the kitchen, kind of thing. And I'm like, what is that? So I get up, and it's my mom and her walker. I thought, oh my God, we're having some activity. I was getting up to find it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's my mom.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, she'll kill me if she sees that. But this whole feral thing, I mean, if you think of the story and how, that this guy was a cannibal, his family, turned out to all be cannibals because that's the way he, raised everybody. How did more come about? Even if because Donny gave us two versions of the story. He said
Yeah.
they were either taken back and prosecuted and done away with, horribly, or they were trapped in that cave.
Yeah.
How did we get more, and how did they end up in America? How did this belief system come up in America? That's what I don't understand.
That I can't tell, because the more I look at, people talk about it. We were talking about the Smoky Mountains and Appalachia earlier, behind the scenes about, that's a lot of the reports we saw, out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you go into the U.S. Forestry websites and stuff, and it actually has a little write-up on it, on the feral people in national parks, and it says straight out, said, just in case, remember all the rumors and theories directly to the source as sources such as TikTok and YouTube. So a lot of the stuff is conjecture from social media a lot of times. So
right.
They have discussions. They do have discussions and talk about it, but they're saying that it's not really what's going on, quote unquote.
Right. I mean, because I did hear a story about a family that went up camping in the Appalachian Mountains, and they were kind of out, secluded out there.
Yeah.
And they had the young son who was like 6 or 7 years old, and then they had the older son, and then the mom and dad. Well, they all hiked up there and decided to camp for the night. Well, the next morning they woke up and the young son was gone.
Yeah.
And so they spent months looking for this kid. Months looking for him, and they never found him until one day they saw a tennis shoe footprint that was the exact type and size of their son that went missing, but yet alongside that was a barefoot human footprint with it that was larger in size. So that, for me, that's kind of strange.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I mean, they determined that footprint to be human. So, that kind of put my Bigfoot, thoughts to rest there. But still, there's a lot. I know that there's people up there that choose to live off grid. And there's a bunch that have educations. They're just done with society as we know it today. They're just done.
Yeah.
So they go up there and do all of these great things, up there by themselves off grid. But then we have these other families that live up there that, education was never a thing. They do live off the land, but it's kind of like, I want to say their house, their everything's kind of cobbled together. There's nothing that says there was education or knowledge behind what they were doing.
Not just necessarily feral, but like you said, rust sticking off the grid.
Yeah. It's just kind of like they choose to take their family away from human society. And, of course, incest is part of that. And I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that there are families, and there's a whole series, and I'm not gonna say this, the name of the family or anything, but there's a whole series of this man who helps this family up in the Appalachian Mountains, because there isn't any education. There's incest in the family, and he goes and helps them out and gives them money, brings them stuff, all kinds of things. But
I know what you're talking about.
And this way, it helps them out, but he also gets to know them, and they allow him to film them up there. But you can definitely tell that the education level is very, very low, if any at all.
This is a documentary.
They don't. There's like zero human resources. I mean, like if somebody was I like to think that if somebody was in that bad a shape, somewhere in I don't even know what to call it. Honestly, no, because we've got, it's no better anywhere, because look at all look at the homeless, population.
Right.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really wanted to get technical, they could be considered feral people. I don't look at them that way, but
No.
I mean,
They could be. I mean, they could be. I think, especially in my area, there is a lot of homeless people, and unfortunately, there are in your bigger areas, and things like that would provide services for these individuals. That's where they kind of congregate. Normally, your cities and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some that have a great education. It's just circumstances that have just landed them in that position, and they don't know really how to dig them out. And from some things that I've seen, like other documentaries and things, that they've just lived out there so long that they don't know anything else. They don't know if they could come back and be a part of a regular society.
Well, that's like that one picture he showed of the guy in India. That his name was Dina Sanachar.
Yep.
That guy was found when he was 6 in India in 1872. Okay, and he did live 20 more years but he was with a pack of wolves, And being in India, I started looking at this one when I was researching. I was like, I wonder if this story of this was kind of behind Rudyard Kipling's version of Mowgli and stuff in the Jungle Book.
Right.
Feral
children.
Very
Yep.
well. Very well.
Because
look at the Legend of Tarzan.
Yeah,
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
Raised by apes, and there have been supposedly some children that have been found in the late 1800s that were raised to a certain level, like 5-6 years old by apes.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy he spent 20 years among humans and never learned how to talk still and was severely impaired the entire time.
He apparently learned to enjoy cigarettes, though.
Yeah, I heard the way I read it, he really liked to smoke.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lavera.
Thank you so much. I don't know, but it sets it up in the right area though for the Jungle Book, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. That's the only one I could see that would have done it. Now, Rudyard Kipling had his time in India, which inspired a lot of the book in the first place. So I mean, you've got the Rikki Tikki Tavi, Mowgli, and that bunch. I mean, there was like 4 different stories in that book. So I mean, people think Jungle Book, they just think of Mowgli just because of Disney, But that's not the case. I mean, you had a lot of stories in there, and if you read the story about Mowgli, it kind of lends into this.
Yeah, because didn't they return him to his own kind when he was still very young?
Yes, and in the book,
that would be about 11 or 12 years old.
Exactly. So,
isn't
just as he was starting to, according to the movie, just as he was starting to kind of look at girls. So.
Starting to look at girls.
He's starting to look at girls. In the book, I do believe he was 6 or 7 though when he finally was returned though.
Returned.
But by 6 or 7, he was moving with the rest of the pack though at 6 or 7. And according to the book, the reading of the book itself, he'd already kind of established himself. He was going to be taking the pack over.
Well, you got to think about this too. I mean, you got to think about in wolf years, right? Dog years. Let's just talk about dog years. This boy was just coming up at 6 or 7.
Yeah, he was 1 year old.
And these other wolves that he had grown up with are getting old at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he was probably setting himself up, to really take over that pack for generations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and look, and just think about it. The mother wolf that was raising him, how long she had to carry him whenever the pack would move.
Right.
I mean, you talk about a year, but about out there, he'd probably learn how to walk or crawl by 6 months, I would say, being in that situation, because it's a survival of the fittest thing. He's got to move or he's going to die.
Right. They'll leave him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. didn't mean to get up on that tangent. I just thought about it. I was looking at that. I was like, dang, he come out the same time frame as what Rudyard Kipling would have been writing the books, the book of the Jungle Book. So
very interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, sorry.
So wasn't there like a young boy and girl that were found at the same time?
Let's see here.
That had been living in the forest.
Let's see. When one? Are you talking about the Hessian wolf children?
Yeah, that
was way back when. Yeah. That was back in 1300s, though. You had 3 boys, actually.
Okay, so
trying to look.
I'm not sure what the story is here, but we got.
And this was from this year. Feral cannibals.
The article was from this year. That was not, that picture and stuff was not from this year.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That looks like the 70s, perhaps.
Yeah, she looks more 70-ish or early 80s.
Yeah.
But if we start talking about this subject here, that brings us into the missing 411 stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like the story you were talking about, Brandi, with the tennis shoe footprint and the barefoot footprint. And I know you said they determined it as humans, but if it was a Bigfoot track, would they really say anyway? So,
true. And I didn't find any evidence or pictures or proof that it was human.
Right. So I mean, it could go both ways. I mean, you've had serial killers hide out in the national parks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. For years.
Yeah. So,
but you're mentioning the bear print and stuff. There's several documented cases of children raised with bears.
Barefoot footprint is what she was talking about.
Oh, okay. I just said there was a bear print. I was like, there's a bear print. Well, I know of at least 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at 3 right now that were part of it. So, raised by bears.
Yeah.
Or found living with bears. Let's put it that way. I shouldn't say raised by bears. They might have been fattening them up. I don't know.
They may have. Who knows? But they're saying that feral people are not just limited to the Appalachian Mountains, that they're located all over the United States. So I'm just wondering, I mean, the climate being what it is, I could see the Appalachian Mountains because they could, move down out of the mountains a little bit to get a little more warmth, being in, the Carolinas and what have you.
Yeah.
But I can't see the Rockies so much because, the higher you get, the sparser the vegetation is, the colder it is. I don't know. Where would
you're thinking about more temperate mountain type stuff. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Lots of feral people in Dallas, Texas.
Hey, Greg, if you'd have saw me about 2 hours ago, you'd have thought I was feral.
That
game was about to blow my mind.
I was just getting ready to say Dallas, Atlanta, St. Louis. We got some. I'm just saying.
You think Dallas is bad? Go to Austin.
Oh yeah, they don't say keep Austin weird for nothing.
Right.
Oh, good grief.
Well, Ristel in chat said that probably the reason why we hear more about the ones in the Appalachia is because more people hike through there. More people are, out there hiking versus, like say in the Rockies, they hike up through there, but they don't go hike because it's way up there. When I was younger and living in Colorado Springs, we walked all the way to the top of Pikes Peak. And I tell you what, and it started off at 80 degrees at the bottom, and I was freezing when I got to the top. There was snow up there and everything else. I could look out my front window and see that even in May it would be snowing at the top of these mountains and things.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing up a story, but I had my first daughter in Colorado Springs, and where the hospital was located, it was on the Air Force Academy base there. So when I was walking to the hospital, I was out of breath from getting to the car to getting into the hospital just because of the altitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, the weather up there, it's very strange. So that just goes back to saying that it would be easier, more livable for them to be on the East Coast versus out in the Rockies.
I've got a friend again.
Oh.
Oh,
So-
no.
Now he
I've
wants
got-
the mic. Get off the mic, fool.
See,
Now pick him up and hold
this
him. He's gonna
one-
grab mine.
like I said, this one for some reason came up as it was in Scotland, but I don't know. I mean, this is obviously an older picture if you take it
Yeah.
for, face value. But yeah, I don't know. That's
Well, and it could have been a stage one, kind of like what they did with that. The one in South America that was supposedly the Orion Pendek type, corpse, I guess, for lack of a better term, because I mean it was up on stilts or whatever it was, or up on a brace. So this could have been not staged per se, but it could have been taken like that, just for somebody to show later. Because quite frankly, the hand looks wrong. So
Yeah. And
oh yeah, that one I found that
Yeah.
one. That was kind of cool. I like that one. So it ain't real, but it was cool.
I forgot which movie that was from.
I can't remember either now. I just saw it and I was like, wow, that was cool.
Oh, I think that was from the King Kong movie when they were on the island. Wasn't that one of the the local kids
No.
or something? No,
I don't think so. Hang on, I'll find it again. You can keep talking before that, but I'll find it again.
right. So, I was thinking about, looking at the clothing and everything and looking at the other picture Tex was showing. I mean, because they were saying that this family would go out and, ambush basically
right.
other people. So I'm assuming that's where they got clothing from. I mean,
Yeah, I would
But-
think.
yeah, I would think so too. But I can't imagine how they would clothe the whole family. But then again, you did say over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
By the time they were caught, because they were cannibals, but I don't. I mean, I got so many things going on because I know they just didn't eat people. There were other things that they were eating besides that. I mean, I'm sure they were
Well,
living
yeah.
off the land too. And
Be kind
just
is
trying-
here. Yay.
Hey, be kind.
I was just trying to figure out how they were surviving otherwise, because I mean, they were growing. Their family was growing in size quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to feed all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you're not going to just eat one thing. If you're living
Right.
off the land, you're going to eat
Right.
whatever's available. Period.
Right.
Right,
But to take a look at where they were living
right.
in that cave right there on the ocean, I mean, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of vegetation or
Not a whole lot of vegetation. Yeah,
and not a whole lot of food source other
Right.
than luring somebody or something back. You know what
or
I'm
what
saying?
they could get out the ocean potentially, or like seabirds.
Right.
That's
Because it
about
looks
it,
very
really.
desolate. Yeah, it looks very desolate.
But
And why
I
they would
think-
choose something like that, I don't know.
They said that they were not just found with like body parts. Well, one of the things that it was described in the caves for the Sawney Bean clan, it was reported that they had like barrels and they were like actually pickling like human body parts for later consumption. They were also hoarding a lot of their valuables, jewels, and money. So they were probably supplementing by actually like going out and purchasing.
Yeah, or trading, or
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it was very likely there would have been a lot more feral people in the Americas, especially when you look back in like the frontier days when there was a lot less infrastructure, a lot more people who were just living by themselves in the woods with just their families and their homesteads. And I'm pretty sure there were plenty of feral people or living all feral like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was just called surviving.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, put yourself in a survival mode. Now, there's many stories, true stories out there about people having to consume other people due to their circumstance, the plane crashes, whatever. Of course, there's the famous Donner whole debacle.
Yeah. That's
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would probably do what I had to do, but I don't know. At first, I think I'd be so sick that I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Just knowing.
Well, and the stories that we hear like that, that's one of the things that they either go mad by eating it for so long, or just the act itself drives them mad. Some people just can't handle it.
Oh yeah, there's that Kuru disease where people go mad. Like
yes.
That's specifically brain and spine matter though.
Right.
Like as long as you don't eat those parts, you don't have to worry about it. It's like when people start consuming brain and spine stuff, it gets dicey.
Okay, that's good to know, Donnie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Donnie, I figured out where that picture came from.
Yeah.
I figured out where the picture came from.
Okay.
It is actually the 2005 King Kong movie.
I was right. I was right.
It was one of the Skull Island.
The Peter Jackson one. Yes. Donnie Show for the win.
Yes. Yep, because I was sitting there like, I went on Kong Skull Island, and I'm like, but I didn't think about the 2005 version. So
right, I was talking about the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah, I had to go back and look because there was like this is obvious for a movie, and I remember it being in a movie, but where was it in the movie? I've been
and by the way, guys, sorry about my dog freaking out earlier during the show. Turns out it was just a shadow person in my room. I handled it.
Oh, you're good. Did you fart on him?
I farted on him. Took care of
it. Hey, it's okay. I was bugged by a cat while you were gone, so
I had to handle some business.
Well, we were very concerned because your dog never barks. Mm-hmm. He's usually having fun and playing in the background or whatever, but he never barks. We were concerned.
Time out. There's something about to happen.
Uh-oh.
Donny Cho, meme of the week.
Yeah, I did a little play.
That was loud.
That was loud.
Okay,
everybody awake now.
Awake, people, awake.
So there's two types of, there's different types of people we've been talking about. We've been talking about the degrees to which people could reach feralhood. Now, not everyone you meet on a daily basis is going to be a feral person, but there will be plenty of people who you will see as having, let's just say, red flags in a lot of cases, right? Red flag people.
Red flag people.
But in this case, red flags, nah, I don't see any red flags. Where? Do you guys see any red flags?
This is a situation where I think I would put away my fear and my hatred of the Ouija board. Okay.
Ooh, she's opening herself up for a whole.
Could you imagine taking her home to meet the parents?
I just want to know how many hands you need on the thing to make it work. That's all.
I'm just trying to figure out what the pochette would be.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
You could probably use a pendulum, but that's just like inviting something to take over her body
all the time.
You ever meet anyone with a Ouija board tattoo?
No. Now the planchette tattoos, I've seen a whole slew of those, but not that. No, absolutely not. Like I said, that looks like that's opening her up for demonic possession. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Woo!
Wow.
Oh.
Not quite feral, but definitely red flags.
It could save her some time at a bar. You just point. No,
I'm kind of with Kevin on that one.
Goodbye. You know what I mean? She'd have it all right there for you.
Yep.
She just pointed out for you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, am I talking to somebody? No.
Like I said, I don't want to talk to you. Goodbye. There you go.
So the reason why I initially brought this one up is because I was kind of fascinated with the idea of human beings as cryptids, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because essentially they are like cryptids. So I was thinking about another example of like a human cryptid, right? Skinwalkers.
Right.
Who are basically, if you think about it, feral people who practice whatever witchcraft, dark magic, or shamanic tradition. But they're removed from society. They're doing their craziness, turning all sorts of shapes, running around the woods or in the wilderness. Right? We treat them in the same conversations with Bigfoot and Dogman. But at the end of the day, skinwalkers were born people, right?
Right.
And I find that a fascinating concept that a human being, someone born as a human being, could wind up as a cryptid.
Yeah.
While they're still in their mortal body.
Well, it's the same thing like werewolves, you know. They're supposedly born human.
Yeah.
Well,
so that makes sense. It makes
the
sense.
whole skinwalker thing is brought on supposedly by cannibalism.
They're just tired of everybody.
So basically, with Tex, what you're saying is they're basically feral people, but they know magic, right?
Well, it depends what you choose to believe. I mean, yeah.
Right.
But I mean,
right.
There again, it could be just people going, these people do go feral or they go mad.
Mm-hmm.
If they go mad and they leave the village, they start wearing animal skins, which wasn't, back in the day, wasn't that uncommon. But if they start eating people, that could be where the whole skinwalker thing came from.
Yeah.
Right. And they're doing their business, right? Turning into whatever.
But see, then that puts that. Okay, so I place the skinwalker more on a supernatural level versus the cryptid level. So I mean, that would be difficult for me to call a skinwalker a cryptid type thing. But again, if the classification, it's something that we can't explain and rarely seen.
Mm-hmm.
But what if skinwalkers? What if skinwalkers are not supernatural? What if this was just an explanation that people have to explain cannibals, in a more modern? I mean, what if it was? We get skinwalkers from the indigenous peoples. So what if it's their way of explaining a
cannibalism,
or somebody that went mad in the tribe, and maybe they banished them, they ostracized them, whatever, and this is how they live now, and they started calling them skinwalkers. I don't know.
That's tough. That's a very good point. Very good point. Maybe it was their way of explaining it. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like, well, we're not going to say that we have people that are, I want to say defective. Let's just call them they're You know, they've got this spiritual, supernatural type of thing going on. You know, so that's how we're going to explain that away. So we don't have to say, "Hey, my cousin Fred, it was a
Yeah.
cannibal." You know what I'm saying? He was a skinwalker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, could it be that that's how they covered it up? Possibly.
Well,
By the way, with all of these shows and conversations there have been about skinwalkers, has anyone ever specified exactly which tribes specifically talk about them? I'm curious about that now.
No,
Well-
I don't think there's anything specific. I think there
No.
was many different tribes. Now they may have called them something different in
yeah,
their,
Right.
in
much
their
like the
own
way the
language.
Wendigo. Yeah.
Right. They may have
Oh.
explained it away like that.
I just looked it
but-
up. It was
Navajo.
primarily Navajo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there
Which,
have been
you know-
other tribes that have
Yeah.
had shamans. Shamans is the other thing. They have their spiritual leaders
Mm.
become skinwalkers. I mean, in some of the stories that I've seen.
Well, you think about that kind of stuff where y'all are talking about maybe the skinwalkers are human versus supernatural, and they're a cryptid feral human or a cannibal or whatever the case might be. And we're talking about skinwalkers. Maybe they're using something as far with the cannibal side. They're using after they cannibalize, they're using the skin as a disguise of some sort. Is that what you're thinking? Maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. Something.
Well, then
Mhm.
that's in public culture or public pop culture already with The Walking Dead. I mean, honestly, you sit there and think about it. There's a group in the Walking Dead comics and on the show it's called the Whisperers.
Yeah.
And the Whisperers, now they're sugar coated in the show. I'll just tell you, go read the comics and the compendiums for them. Okay, but
Well, I mean, from
Those
history,
guys-
you also have the berserkers.
exactly, the Berserkers did the same thing. So
Yeah.
this is not or not new. It's happened throughout history at times. So it's not too far of a reach if you really sit there and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mike Bothwell said, yes, guys, in Northern Ontario, Canada, they call them bear walkers. So it's just the same thing, just of a different name.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really kind of a cool concept. I mean, like I said, I have never watched not one single episode of that show, not once. I just know what you guys have told me about skinwalkers and what little bit I've read. So, because anybody knows me, I don't go jumping into the deep end a whole lot. I like to wade in slowly, because it gets cold quick.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So,
right.
and I don't try to put anything based off of what I see on TV. The only thing that's ever affected me coming from a TV show was watching In Search of back in the old days. That was the only one. So yeah, that was it.
Yep.
By the way, while we're at it, I looked up Wendigo. That's Algonquin.
Is it Algonquin? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it depends on who you talk to, is what that really means too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, now Andrews they're talking about their souls being taken over, but couldn't going mad? I mean, well, it was going mad was looked at as being possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't know about mental illness back then.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Well, and think if they were consuming human remains, if they were consuming that, Donny said, if they eat the wrong thing, that could bring that kind of disease on.
Well, Kuru disease is a pretty debilitating disease. Like you lose all motor function. Like you're pretty much just
done.
Yeah. If you ever see footage of like natives with like Kuru disease, it's pretty gnarly looking.
Mm-hmm.
How you spell that?
Kuru.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's basically mad cow disease. It's like a form of it. Yeah.
But if you were, like I said, but if you were in that mode and mindset that you were going to do this, that you were going to consume people, you've got to be gone a little mad anyway, I think.
Well, yeah, I would think so. Unless, of course, like we said, with the Bean clan, you were raised and that's all you ever knew.
Yeah, that was like just a Tuesday for them.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
got to understand of
Yeah.
all the incest going on in that particular
Yeah.
family unit that, things weren't, they were clicking
No,
like
they
they
weren't.
should have.
Yeah, I don't imagine they were either. But still, you can't sit there and say that would be the only reason, because even if it was several groups together that came out and they lived, and those children that were born out of them, that's all those children would have known was what they were taught.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
And plus, if you consider the mother was if the rumors are true, practicing like some
a
dark
witch.
magic.
Yeah. There
With
and
that as well.
think about it the same thing with the headhunters of the Amazon that people talked about all the time.
Mhm.
They would consume their enemies and they'd shrink the heads, but it was all ritualistic so they could absorb the spirit and the stuff of their enemies.
Right.
That was the whole reason behind it. It wasn't necessarily, hey, I want a finger for dinner, or something like that. It wasn't that. It was so they could absorb their enemies' aura, chakra, whatever you call it. Yeah, I like chakra. That sounds good. Their essence. That's what they were trying to do.
Well, it was the same
Well,
thing.
that's what we've heard throughout time and history. Time and
Yeah.
history showed us through wars and battles and things that they would drink the blood of the enemies.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Vlad the Impaler.
Well, that's pretty much the same
It was
thing.
the whole Kuru thing was really found in Papua New Guinea, because their funeral ritual was to eat the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I was reading this. It's pretty fascinating, because the symptoms don't typically appear until 10 to 50 years after they're exposed to the parasite, which is
Disease.
prion.
Oh, wow. So, yeah. So I wonder if it just shows up all of a sudden, or if it kind of creeps up, like it shows a little bit, at a time.
Well, they usually die within 2 years of symptom onset.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like all of a sudden, there it is. Boom.
Yeah. So, and they go through tremors, involuntary movements, loss of coordination and balance, difficulty walking and speaking, progressive dementia, inability to sit and stand. So, but I mean, there's no, every person's different. So you're going to get, a laundry list of these things that come at different times from different people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was first described in the 1950s. It reached epidemic proportions in the 60s, but it's declined significantly after the four people, which was, abandoned the practice of cannibalism in the 50s and in New Guinea. And as of 2020, there's been no new cases.
Yeah. So that tells me that they've slowed it down as far as what they're doing, first of all.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they gave that practice up, so.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to avoid. Just don't be, don't be eating people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, true. That's true.
And
Or
that's
at least cook it right.
Yeah. Any survivalist is the same way. There's certain parts of animals you just don't eat,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
period. Any survivalist will tell you. I mean, look at Nate. I'm going to date myself a little bit. Now I won't, because they're still going on, but Naked and Afraid, been on forever, just about, it seems like, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have one guy on there, and his name's Gary. He's been on the early ones, and he went through. The dude never made it through a challenge, never, because he would be stupid about what he ate. Some sort of, maggot infested meat. He would clean the maggots off, try and clean it off and eat it. He actually took eyeballs from a fish when they were cooking the fish, and he put the eyeball up to his eyes, acting like he was going to see it. What happened? A parasite went from that eyeball of that fish into his eye, and he got booted out. He had to be medically tapped because of stupidity. So, when people do something like that, you're looking at them like, if you're going to be that stupid in this situation, what would push you to that next level? You know what I mean?
I want to watch that.
These people. Well, these people go through the training. They know how to survive. There's always got to be one.
Exactly.
That's what
and he always was that one guy.
He is.
I say let natural selection.
There's always somebody who's going to do something that they shouldn't.
And this where ratings come in because they kept bringing him back for the bigger ones, and stuff like that. They kept bringing him back. I'm like, he's never completed one, but the fans,
you want to watch him
they
fail.
kept bringing him back. Exactly.
Bring him back to watch him
how's
fail.
this idiot's going to screw up this time? Type thing.
Yeah.
Well, see,
anyway,
they don't know where they're going, but
and see, that's just
go ahead.
To me, that just turns it into jackass.
That's about what it is with him. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Which I refuse
because
to
these
watch.
people know how to live. Yeah, they know how to live. They pride themselves on being able to survive. And then you've got just one guy who couldn't survive in his backyard, let alone anywhere else, and they put him out there.
Right.
And be kind. That's exactly right.
Know.
Parasites survive because of how deadly they are. That's exactly right. But what else I found interesting is this. We were talking about people appearing mad and all this kind of stuff, and one of the symptoms of kuru, what I guess you could pronounce it any way you want. Kuru. I'm going with kuru.
That's what we said before.
Well, there you go. The allegedly hysterical laughter is attributed to kuru is not subjective. Personality-driven reaction to the joys of cannibalism, as I had imagined it, is an involuntary neurodegenerative reaction resulting from the collapse of all mental physical constraints. So hysterical laughter is a symptom also.
Gotta ask Donny.
Would I do an actual episode of Naked and Afraid? No, man. Hell no. Because my cousin and her kids, they're obsessed with that show. And I don't want them to watch me like that.
No, that's the down and out. That's
not Naked and
Afraid.
I would definitely do Clothed and Afraid.
That's a long.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a long. That's a good
one. The same thing, but can I at least wear clothes, please?
I know, right? Yeah, because Naked and Afraid is the worst case scenario.
Oh well, Kimber answered it for you though. Yeah. Kimber did answer it. She said you would do it if you had K-pop playing in the background the whole time.
No, I'd still want clothes though. Can I at least have a pair of jeans?
No
jeans.
I'll tell you that.
Nothing.
First thing, if I ever did it, first thing I'm doing is making some sort of shoe, some way, shape, or form.
I would at least need a shoe. Can I have some socks at least?
Nope.
No, you'll have to make
completely naked but socks. Oh,
you have to make your own.
You'd have
to make my own socks. Well,
yep.
I guess that's what squirrels are for.
True.
Then I'd have to catch a squirrel.
Yeah, you'd have to catch a couple of them, and
yeah. I want to see you do that one.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
Right.
Hope that squirrel don't get the better of you.
How would you even?
I know.
Snares.
Well, you could. But see, this brings me back to feral people. Why didn't they think of these things? I mean, why?
Maybe they couldn't get enough of those squirrels.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, it's probably like you were saying earlier, Brandi. It's just low-hanging fruit.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
What out there is easier to run down and catch than a human?
Right.
We are pretty easy pickings.
Yeah.
It's a bigger, easier target.
Oh man, could you imagine the carnage if dinosaurs were still around? We wouldn't stand a chance.
No, I know.
We'd be easy pickings in the woods.
T-Rex coming down the street.
T-Rex comes up out of nowhere, or like a squad of velociraptors, and that's a wrap. What are you gonna do?
That's right.
You can outrun them.
That's actually the scariest thing in the world if you think about it. The way they're talking about the way velociraptors have actually hunted now.
Yeah.
And can you honestly think they're cutting you off? They're surrounding you. They're hunting you, like we would do in a safari.
You're like,
thing.
This is food.
This is a pack that's about to take your butt out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot more sinister than what we had originally thought.
Yeah.
Selena's asking how much are tickets. I'm guessing to the conference. They're $35.
Yes, and they're 50 with preferred seating.
Yes.
And
And
what
then
is
you
it with
also-
Well, hang on a
the
second.
meet and greet Friday night?
Randy's looking it up, I do believe.
Okay.
Let's see what we got right here. There's this part.
Because I don't
And
have
we
it
don't
right
have anything.
handy with
Yeah.
me.
That's okay. I will find it. It doesn't take me long. Maybe.
Right.
Perhaps.
Right. I think it was another 15 for Friday night on top of that. So I think it was ending up to be about
Selecting tickets. Let's see what we got here.
I think it was 50 for Friday night and Saturday. And then it was what, 65 for preferred seating?
Okay, let's see.
I don't know. I know
Yeah,
it's an extra 20 for the gallery reading, I believe.
Yeah, the gallery readings is
okay, so you got the meet and greet on Friday. Conference VIP seating is $60. The meet and greet on Friday and just the Saturday conference is 50, and then just the Saturday conference alone is 45. With VIP seating, that is 35 without VIP.
Without.
Seating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up because I didn't
had
have
to go look
that
it up.
information right in front of me.
I went out to the site
I
and
didn't
looked
have
it
it
up.
right in front of me.
Do we have the gallery reading listed in
Right.
there? We need to list that if it's not in there.
Yeah, the gallery readings in there.
Yeah, gallery
too. You
reading
can
was
buy
in it.
tickets separately.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy them separately for that too. So that's going to be with Mary Lynn. So hey, that's always fun. That's always a good time. Always a good time. You know, because in those things you're not guaranteed a reading, and hey, that's okay because when you are sitting there and you're listening to everything going on and you're getting confirmations back and forth, it's a really cool thing just to watch and to be a part of. So if you've never done a gallery reading, I suggest you do one. Yeah.
Gallery reading alone is $20.
All right. And then just to get into the vendors area and stuff, which you get to hobnob with everybody that's speaking and all the special guests and everything, that's free.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
All the vendor area is free. Absolutely.
Oh, and we have the film premiere too after the meet and greet.
Right.
Yep.
We have Chris Garantano coming, and he's releasing his new documentary probably this summer, and so he's going to show it to us for free Friday night after our meet and greet. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna make sure we have some popcorn and some sodas, and we're just gonna have a really good time because it's going to be very fascinating.
It's gonna be a good time,
right?
And so, JoJo said she's going to fly over here and go, right? Or swim? Was it swim over here or go?
She might. I think she can do it. If anyone can, JoJo can.
She's going to do the Australian crawl all the way over here.
Oh, Lord, she may. If you start now, honey, you might make it. You might.
I'm gonna put money on her.
Right, exactly. Okay, so back on subject. Feral people again. Now they're saying that this new, I don't want to call them new tribes because that's not what they are. These new families and everything that are popping up, and like I said, some are becoming quite famous. They're not cannibals. They're absolutely not cannibals. I'm sure there are some out there that still participate in that type of thing somewhere, but I don't think so in the United States. We haven't heard about that, but then again, we haven't heard a lot of anything on feral people. There's not a lot out there. I mean, every once in a while you might catch somebody who has a video with a glimpse of somebody out there, but they don't. I mean, we can only take their word for it. We don't know if that could be just their buddy hanging out there or whatever. But I haven't.
But if you think about it, they could so easily hide. They could so easily hide.
Well, where do you draw the line from feral to just living off the grid?
Yeah.
Right.
When I think of feral, I'm thinking they're wild.
No, what I'm thinking is someone who was born off the grid. Not someone who was civilized at one point and left the grid and then lived in the woods. Someone who was like, okay, so maybe someone in their past did that, but this individual right now was born like that.
But then you still got the human influence though.
Right.
Yeah, you still have it, but I think it comes more in the line of living in a family unit, not separating from your family unit, the incest problem, the the education level, and just just the thing like a lot of these are having what we would call feral people are having other human contact these days. They're and unfortunately, the more I'm hearing about it, drugs are an issue with these people. Unfortunately, and
Could be.
it's just a sad thing to say that.
But
You got to think about it. You're up there by
how
yourself.
do
You
drugs
can
become
cook.
an issue?
Well, for some of these people who become
You can
addicts
get
and
up there.
yeah.
But once
Mhm,
again, we're talking
mhm.
about
And
how
you
do they
can
become addicts? If they're feral, how do they become addicts? Because they have no input from outside sources
Right.
that way.
Right.
So did they
they're
just learn how to
having
cook the
today.
ginseng?
No, in today's world, they are
Mm-hmm.
having outside world contact.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
this is becoming a problem because you got to think about it, where do moonshiners like to hang out?
Oh yeah. Now
Where do
that's
they
a whole
like
different
to?
animal right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and where do you think that these synthetic drug makers like to hang out?
Well,
It's just
yeah.
places where they can get
Yeah.
away with making all this stuff without being caught, of course.
Right.
So, as some people move out there to, make these things, I'm sure they're running across these people quite a bit, and they're not all like evil and, I mean, we're
See,
kind of painting that picture and we need to stop that. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
all evil, this, that, or other, but
No.
I mean, but they are having outside
so
world contact.
what Brandy brings up, in my opinion, might actually be the one thing you could encounter in the woods that's actually scarier than feral people.
Yeah.
And that's drug runners, cartel guys.
Moonshiners.
Because if
Right.
you run across some like backwoods operation, cartel operation, and then
You're
they
done.
come across you, it's a wrap.
Yeah, you're
It's a
done.
wrap.
Well,
Yeah, you're
You'll
done.
never be found.
There's a reason Hoboken County is called Murder Mountain. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, think about the other side of that coin. You've got your people out there who are using and abusing and running these woods, and they basically feel like they are invincible and have nothing to lose.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't, quite
So, I
frankly,
mean,
because if they get
yeah,
caught or whatever, they're going to die. They already know they're
Yeah.
going to die because if they get caught, taken in,
Right.
and then get released, their own family's going to, or their own people are going to take them out because they're going to think they rat
Yeah.
them,
right,
no matter what.
right.
So these are
Right.
basically like feral people, but with like modern firearms
Well,
and
Right.
I
able
wouldn't
to like
consider
and
'em feral.
vehicles
Well,
and access to things.
mhm.
You know.
Well, I will tell you this story. I was talking about that YouTube family that I was talking about that this guy goes and visits and helps and blah blah blah. Well, one of the daughters of that family had called this man up and said, "Hey, my dad died. Can you send me a couple $100 so I can take care of his funeral and blah blah blah." The guy couldn't believe he died. Nobody told him whatever. So
Yeah.
he made the trip all the way to the Appalachian Mountains to
Oh
find out
no.
what was going on. And the
Oh
man
no.
was out there sitting on the porch. He wasn't dead.
Yeah.
But the girl was wanting some money for, of course, something
She didn't need.
that she didn't need that. So yeah, absolutely.
So she
And
she pulled a Nigerian scam on them, essentially.
right.
A very
Right,
poor one,
right.
apparently.
Yeah.
Right. And with this family, I said, being very well known, but again, we're talking incest and education and the whole 9 yards. She still knew how to swindle somebody out of some money. And exactly what you said before, when we first started the show, you were talking about these feral people who were luring them in to rob them and do away with them and then consume them. It's kind of like, it's almost like the same thing. It's just leaving out the cannibalism part of all of that.
Yeah. But the family that she's talking about, they have electricity. They just live outside of town, but he's giving them cell phones. They'll go into town and use the phone, that type of thing. They go into town.
He takes them to Walmart. He takes them to Walmart.
Yeah.
You know,
the way the Amish do.
They do.
Yeah.
They do have other human contact besides themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't always that way. It wasn't always that way.
There's quite a few of them that have
it's just in these
severe disabilities.
Yes, it's in these newer generations that they're having outside contact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much like, once again, the Amish.
Right. Yeah, I have to drive through Amish country when I'm going from one side of the state to the other. You know, even to the point where they have the side of the road on the highway for the horse and buggies and all of that kind of stuff. And they're constantly running them highways.
Yep.
And every once in a while, you know, I go by and I get to a part where there's a gas station and a McDonald's and I see buggies parked in McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
You know, and these are supposed to be the Mennonites. So I'm like, okay, you know, whatever you want. If you want some McDonald's, well, everybody needs some McDonald's.
I'd rather have their home cooked food.
Yeah, but if you have that every day, I mean, but if you have that every day, you'd want something else.
Or if you're stuck in town on a horse and buggy, you know, you got to get something to eat before you head home, or you're going to end up getting very hungry.
Yeah, because that's going to be a long, long ride. Absolutely.
Yes,
there's
Tina,
another one. There's another one. Hooking Good. That's Tina. She said the channel is Soft White Underbelly. It is not that one, but that's a crazy one too.
Yeah.
It is not that one. This is about a complete family that lives in the Appalachian Mountains. Is the one I'm discussing.
He does a family too.
Oh, he does a family too. Oh, he does that family. So he is the
they're the Whites or the Whitakers.
Whitakers. Yeah, they're the Whitakers. But he's named that something else because it just took off, that whole thing. He named that whole series. I think, well, Tina, you may be right because I think it started off as Soft White Underbelly.
Well, no, he still does that, but he did like the Whitakers are an ongoing thing with him.
Yeah, but no, I think they first started off as a little segment under that show, and then they took off on its own series. Yeah, Tina, I think you're right. I am mistaken. Thank you. You're right. I had to think because that's been a long time ago, but you're right.
He does some really, really good person on the street interviews and yeah. He's done well for himself.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to think about what he does is there are feral people living among us that just refuse to conform to human society.
Yeah.
You know, because you see what he's doing and the way he's talking to these people, but some of them have no idea how to live in a civil society.
And Greg, you may have a point. Greg says, I'm thinking feral is somebody that's raised by animals.
That's exactly the way I'm thinking of them, really, when I think feral.
I think that would be the distinction.
Right.
But I don't think you necessarily have to be raised by animals, like he says, or on your own.
Or being raised.
Right.
Yeah, being raised in a society that, not even a society, in a family that keeps to themselves and stays within their own area. I don't know.
But it's a fascinating subject once you get into it, because
it is. And I need to really look up more, but there's not enough information to really come to any conclusion.
Yeah, that's interesting to say the least.
Right. Because like I said, we don't have a lot of photo evidence, video evidence, or anything like that of these people out there in the woods,
No,
I don't know.
it's all word of mouth. Everything is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Which if you subscribe to some people, if it's not written down, it didn't happen.
Right.
Well, then there's a lot of folklore from the Native Americans then that would have to be
That's what I'm saying.
thrown out. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
BS all the way around.
Oh,
Sorry.
I agree. I agree. But mainstream science out there considers everything that's passed down by word of mouth folklore, not history. Folklore.
I put more stock in a lot of their folklore than some of the history that's written.
Oh, absolutely. History is written by the victors.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean,
look how a perfect example is look how Vlad the Impaler was portrayed for years. Until the truth came out, and he was actually, if it hadn't been for him, Christianity would be dead over there.
Yep.
But I mean, he's considered a hero. There's statues and stuff dedicated to him over there. He did what he had to do to protect his country. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I mean, he did partake in the blood of his enemies, but it wasn't like what people think. And the things didn't come out, and that all didn't happen.
Well, he got his reputation from impaling people along the roads to, deter the Ottomans from attacking.
Yeah, and there were others in England that did the same thing.
Yeah.
So
it was a tactic that was well used.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I don't know, Donnie. What do you think?
It was written by a bunch of hypocrites. I know that for sure.
Right.
Another interesting bit of trivia: he may have been the first military leader in Europe's military history to use firearms on the battlefield.
Yep.
Cool.
That's another.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I
just thought that was pretty neat. I thought it was a neat little.
We need to get Danielle up here to talk about. We'll have to do that as a show one of these days and have her talk about it, because she's got
Vlad the Impaler. We'll talk about Vlad the Impaler.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Not Count Dracula. Vlad the Impaler.
That's her uncle. So.
Well, I mean, you figured. Well, Vlad the Impaler is a real person. Freaking Bram Stoker is the one that came up with Dracula. So
yeah.
That they just,
which in and of itself, but he did not come up with vampires.
No, he did not.
He didn't because vampire genre in fiction was already a thing when Bram Stoker wrote Dracula.
Yep,
he wasn't the first to do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. And no, we were just talking about that. All feral people are not dangerous or evil or whatever.
No.
Brandy made that point a while ago. They are seen that way.
Yes.
But I don't think they are at all.
Because they're different. Right. And that's why, it was, I had to make that point, because they're, they just don't know how to deal with society the way we would go, hey, Donnie, hi, how are you doing today? How's your mom? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They may not know how to have a simple conversation and be pleasant. They may not know how to socially do that. They may be very awkward when it comes to things like that.
Because they don't know how to have a conversation unless it's over text.
Exactly. Yeah, because and I have to say this, my youngest daughter, will do that to me. She wants to ask me something and she's afraid of my answer. So she'll come in, do her little dance, and beat around the bush. And then she'll walk off to her bedroom and then she'll text me the question. Because I'm like, what? Do you think that if I said no, it's going to be worse if I told you in person than over text? It means the same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, but you're right, Tex. It is what it is today. It's strange. I mean, we are losing contact with humanity through the cellular phones and laptops and
we're losing the art of conversation is what we're losing.
Absolutely.
Because of these.
Yes, because of the cell phone. Exactly. I guess that's why it's so fun for me because I don't get to go a lot of places like I used to go because of my mother's situation and all of that.
Yeah.
And but I still get to have my conversations with everybody all the time, which makes it super, wonderful. I do get to have it through everybody in chat, and I do get to have it with all of you and everyone else. And I mean, it's different, but these kids are sitting there watching these shorts and reels and doing the video games and they're losing how to converse in actual society today.
We're boring, Donnie.
We might be.
Yeah, it looks like it.
No, it's not that. It's actually my illness is starting to kick my ass right now.
Thank you, Lavera.
Yeah, I might have to dip out early. Yeah, I think I need to lie down.
Well, we're right at the end of it now, anyway. So,
well, you guys know, like I had to go to the doctor yesterday, and hopefully I'll get the meds that I need, and we'll work this through. But sorry, guys, I'm a little
falling out.
Yeah,
you're looking a little peaked there, buddy.
Yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go. So, thank you, Lavera.
Thanks, Lavera. And yes, I do want to see that.
Yeah, I just said I haven't yet. I'm waiting. So with that being said, we're going to get out of here so Donnie can take his butt to bed. And thank you for Donnie for even showing up tonight. We appreciate you very much. Thank you, Tex, for coming on with us this evening.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Tex. And we'll talk about more. We don't know what our conversation will be next week, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. So till then, everybody, see you next Wednesday.
Bye. I got us.